Good afternoon, everybody. Tonight's webinar is Should You Show Your Diet to Your Doctor? And before we get started tonight, just a few things on, who am I, what have I done, what's my resume. Really quick, I was a full football scholarship, collegiate football player, and strength coach. So tonight's webinar is, should you show your diet to your doctor? And that's definitely an interesting topic tonight, but we're going to touch on it. And real quick, a little bit about me. People often say, well, what have you done, or what's your resume, or who are you? And just real quick, a little bit about me. I'm a former full scholarship and collegiate athlete, football player, and strength coach. And when I finished playing college ball, I lost 50 pounds because I wanted to, practice what I preached and be a good steward of balanced fitness and nutrition. And I went to work as a personal trainer in the private sector for a little over 10 years. I've had over 200 successful client case studies, and you'll see some of those tonight on the different webinar slides. And I've had over 24 published articles on during an 8-month time span on the highest paying fitness website on planet Earth. And all that means is they paid their authors and contributors more than any other fitness website. So I'm proud of all that. But moving on, tonight's talking points. What are we going to discuss tonight? Number one, should you show your customized diet program to the following? Now let me be clear on this. This is not about a diet you got in a magazine or some general type of diet like a paleo or a gluten-free diet. I'm specifically referring to a customized nutritional program that was developed specifically for you. Should you show that to any of the following? Number one, your friends. Should you show it to your doctor? Should you show it to your personal trainer? And this is with the impression that your personal trainer was not the one that designed it for you, obviously. Specifically, if you go to see a personal trainer in a gym or a studio or like a boot camp or a class or something of that sort. So let's get right to the nuts and bolts. You should never show your eating program to your friends. Women love to compare each other's programs. They love to do it. They just love to. I've been doing this now for a long time. I've had hundreds of online clients where it's strictly nutrition programs, and women, they love to share stuff and trade stuff and go back and forth. Never a good idea. In fact, it's very problematic. Now, I'm not going to answer this question immediately. I'm going to talk more about why it's a problem before I tell you, or more about the foundational reasons it's a problem. And we'll talk more about specifically why it's a problem in the next couple slides. So no good's going to come from this, and it will not profit you in any way to share your customized program either with a friend that just wants to, peek at it and get some, pick your brain about it, or a friend that's already also signed up for the same type of nutritional program. Either way, it's always a bad idea. It's never going to help you in any way, and it won't help the other person either. Here's what you got to understand. A lot of folks that struggle emotionally and mentally with just the whole eating, food, diet, fat loss process, they also struggle with a poor self-image. They do. And and honestly, these are more, we've all seen the hot chicks in the gym or following a diet. They're as bad as anybody. So it has nothing to do with your looks. Actually, it does. I think people that, that would be labeled as hot, or someone you'd see on a magazine cover, they're going to struggle with it more than the person that is overweight. And I know that because that's a lot of what I've worked with. It's tilted more in that direction. That's a good way to word it. That's not to say other people don't, but with that being said, understanding this point lets you know that there's already a lot of self-doubt and confusion when it comes to diet and nutrition. And when it's saturated when a topic or an event is saturated with, or a person is saturated with self-doubt and low confidence, that it's for that reason that they don't need any more distractions. You're like, well, what's a distraction? Well, you don't need to, someone else's program will never affect you, and your program should never affect them. If it won't affect you, then why look at it? And we're going to get to that in a minute, or why they want to. We're going to dig underneath the deep root reasoning. But at the end of the day, you want to focus on your program, not somebody else's, right? I mean, this is just common sense. But just to kind of dig deeper, why are women so compelled to look at each other's diet program? I'll tell you why. And you knew this was coming. And if you're a woman watching this, you know why. Curiosity. And I've said this little lingo nursery rhyme before. If curiosity killed the cat, it also prevented the woman from burning body fat. You know, it's tough enough to pack your meals and to stick to your program and to do what you're supposed to do. It's tough. It takes discipline and perseverance. Don't make it tougher by clouding your mind with what somebody else does. Don't make it more difficult by fogging and adding fog and overthinking something. Trust me on that. Now, let's keep digging. What can happen? What can go wrong? What can go wrong by showing your program to friends? Number one, you're going to get one of two answers. There's going to be one or two things that are going to pop in a woman's head if she looks at her friend's customized nutritional program. Number one, it's going to be one of these two. So the first option she'll ask herself is, why is my program different than hers? You know, why is my program different than yours? Why is it? And if it's not that, and before I move on, she's going to try to figure out why this person has more yams, why they have more rice, why they have more fish, why they have more this, why they have more that. They're going to already start looking at, they're going to ask more questions. This is going to do what? It's going to create self-doubt, and it's also going to add even more confusion to an already confusing topic for most females. So that's and if it's not that question, this is the next question they're going to ask themselves. Why is my program the same? Why is it? And it doesn't matter whether it really is different or not. And it doesn't really matter if it really is the same or not. And the whole thing is, that's going to obsess and saturate that person's thought process. Now let me say this, and just to get this out of the way, and this is my biggest pet peeve when it comes to, you know, the whole online nutrition diet programming, is that probably 9 out of every 10, probably higher than that, probably 99 out of every 100, because there's about a zillion people that sell online diet programs now. It's really oversaturated the industry. Probably 95 out of 100 people simply copy and paste the same diet program to the other person. What do they charge, $50 or $450? I've heard some horror stories where women paid $400+ for a customized contest prep program, which is different than just diet, and it was a cut and paste with like other people's stats and numbers on there. I've heard horror stories, and that's what all these quote-unquote coaches and online trainers do. So my number one pet peeve is people that do that. And one thing about me is, for those of you that have signed up, you fill out an extensive evaluation, and for somebody, if somebody's program, I've probably had 3 programs that I've made out of over 1,000 nutrition programs I've done. I can honestly say there's definitely 2 I remember, and possibly 3 that were identical. And why would somebody's be totally the same and identical? There's only really one way, or there's several ways, actually, more than one. It'd have to be, number one, the person would have to be the same age, height, weight, and photos would have to look identical. In the same somatotype. In the same, whether they have kids or not. Another thing, the person would have to have the same diet history. And thirdly, they'd have to have the same food preferences. And that's only happened definitely twice that I can think of. that I literally didn't have. The programs are just identical. So a program can be similar but be far from identical. So the whole point I'm making with this is that if someone signs up with me, you've got about a 0.03% chance of having an identical program with another one of my clients. It's almost impossible. You'd have a better chance of being struck by lightning. So I have to make that point because that's a lot of people's fear, that it's going to be copy and paste, because so many other online people are guilty of that. But the bottom line is, whether it is or isn't, it's only going to result in, if you have one of number one or number two going through your mind, it's going to result in lack of confidence. And I can tell you right now, you should always have unwavering faith in your nutritional program. You've got to have unwavering faith. If you don't have that, then you're not going to end up following it. You're not going to trust it, and you're going to stray. Now, should you show your diet program, your nutrition program, to your trainer? Once again, just to reiterate, I'm referring to trainers that, work in a studio, work in a gym, boot camp, group classes, and you bought your customized nutrition program from someone online, or you bought it for someone that maybe you met face-to-face in person, but they're not. It wasn't your trainer. That's all I'm saying. Should you show that diet to your trainer? And I know this because, number one, I used to be a personal trainer for about 10, 11, 12 years in a gym or a studio, and I don't do that anymore. And now I exclusively sell online nutrition programs. So I've seen it from both sides of the coin. So I'm a great person to lend perspective. But my answer to that is, don't even tell them you're following a customized nutritional program, and definitely don't show them. They definitely don't need to see it. So, number one, if you do show it to them, more than likely they're going to disagree with it. Quick story: 2009, I had a woman sign up with me, and she made awesome progress in like a month's time. I mean, she was already had a really nice figure and went from like hot to super hot in like a month. And a friend at her gym said, "Wow, you look different. What have you done?" She said, "Go to see wetwolftraining.com." So her friend signed up with me. Her friend immediately takes her program and shows it to her trainer. What do you think that trainer said? First thing he says is, "It's got way too many carbs." Well, it could have been protein, it could have been fat, it could have been anything. The point is, their personal trainer is going to disagree with it. And here's why. Number one, they want to be all inclusive. They want to be responsible and have full autonomy for really anything you do fitness related, because they're in control, and they want to, which is fair. It's fair. I used to be a gym personal trainer, and I would have wanted the same thing. But I can say this with honest sincerity, and I have several good friends and business relationships that are gym or studio personal trainers, and some of them even own their own studio. So I say this with absolute respect, but they would probably agree with me. If you're training people in a studio or gym, if you're a personal trainer, your absolute expertise is not nutritional program design. Your expertise is training people, exercise, program design. That's your expertise. Whereas this is all I do. All I do is nutritional program development, program design. So the reason I'm mentioning that is as much as a real life gym trainer might, want to have full autonomy and have you be all inclusive, they're not an expert in that. That's not to say they're all imbeciles, although many are. The drive home point is that they're really not equipped to give you the best nutritional guidance you can get. And I'm going to talk more about that as we get going on the next slide here. But another reason is that they're very territorial, and they view it as stepping on their toes. Back when I was 26, 27, 24, 25, I would have been the same way. If a client of mine that was paying me said, "Oh, I'm following a diet that someone else made me online," I probably would have been critical of it too. But, that doesn't mean I was right. And it would have been for one of these reasons. But another reason is they'll view it as competition for their business. which really I've never found that to be valid. I've had personal trainers, or I've had people that have signed up with me many, many times, and what they'll say is in their eval, well, I'm working with a personal trainer 3 days a week, 4 days a week, 5 days a week, whatever they're doing. And what I found is that anytime a person is working with a personal trainer, they're going to have a better relationship, and they're going to have more rapport with that person than they are with the person that's online. For the very simple reason, they're meeting with them face-to-face and in real life. So what I have found over time is, and this is obviously if I don't know who the personal trainer is or have a relationship with them, don't fight it. Don't say, well, quit your personal trainer, they're overtraining you, or quit working with them, and just follow because I give every online client that signs up an already published, very simple, very safe, very effective exercise program. It's already published, but very smart and safe and effective. And instead of saying, no, follow my exercise program too, in trying to create doubt with their personal trainer, even if their trainer is really overtraining them, I just don't say anything. I just do the best I can to design the program to fit what they're doing. And I might say, cut out these extra cardio days, but, don't drop your trainer, stay with him. So I show respect from that end, and it's just easier that way. And everybody's on the same page a little bit better, even if I don't even know, even if I don't even know who their trainer is and have never met them. It's important to do that because you don't want to create doubt from their end in the client's mind. It's all about working together. Now, let me transition to this next slide, which is, and I can say this because once again I've got great, real life working example with this. There's 4 personal trainers, and once again I'm referring to in the gym. They do group training, they do boot camp training, they do one-on-ones, whatever. They're in a gym or a studio, and they train clients in real life. That's the key point, face-to-face real life, who actually refer clients to me. And I'm going to say why that's smart to do. And if you're a personal trainer that's watching this, I would encourage you to as well. And I'm going to explain why. Number one, and here's where they're from. 2 of them are from Vancouver, British Columbia. One of them is from somewhere in South Florida. And one of them is from, they should say Northern California. But one of them is from, I forgot the city, but it's somewhere in Northern California. But the point is that what this does is this allows the personal trainer to focus totally on training. And that way they can, since they outsource the nutrition part of it, it's just less of a headache. And what do you mean by that? Well, here's exactly what I mean. And once again, I was a personal trainer in the gym, in the studio, before I ever had an online business for over 10 years. And I can promise you, what the biggest headache and the biggest high maintenance area came from? It was them complaining about their diet and nutrition. And if they're already paying me whatever they were paying a month, $3, $4, $5, $6, however many $100 whatever they were paying a month, if I'd said, well, pay this for nutrition, some of them might have, and I think I did it with a few, but my point is most of them really don't want to pay more. They expect it to be, like I said, all-inclusive. They expect it to cover that. And with some of them I might have, but the point I'm making is that it was just a headache. And I remember thinking, we're here to work out together. We're here to train and for me to help that. And it was more of a headache than anything. And if there was someone I trusted and I fully believed in, then I could have said, look, go see this person. They'll handle your nutrition. I've worked with them. They're good. They're not good. They're great. They're effective. We're on the same page. They're going to design your nutrition program around, the training that we're doing together, and it'll work especially well. I would have done that, and that's why I would encourage, and that's why all these personal trainers, it works well with us, because they don't want the headache of having to deal with, the person's diet habits and their binging and they're complaining about food. Let me deal with that. And it's better that way. You can always accomplish more when you work as a team. Always. So if there's any personal trainers out there You can comment in the Facebook comments below. I'm sorry, not Facebook, YouTube comments below, since this will be posted on YouTube. Or you can comment on my Facebook page. So get a hold of me and we'll get that going. So, now here's the next part. Should you show your diet to your doctor? That's a big one. Well, let's talk about that. I've had over a dozen, when I say head, I mean I've designed customized nutritional programs for over a dozen nurses, 3 different physician's assistants, 4 medical doctors, 4 MDs, and a surgeon. And most MDs who eat breakfast, if they even eat breakfast, usually just have a bowl of cereal. They're not really, up to speed on effective nutritional program design. And let me ask you this. So would you go to a medical doctor for your eating program? Would you go to them to have them design one for you? Well, no, probably. No. In fact, I would recommend that. In fact, I've been very clear on this. You should never even go to a dietitian for a nutrition program. But with that being said, would you go to an MD? And well, probably not. In fact, no. Well, if you wouldn't, then why would you show it to them? In other words, why would you show them your customized diet program? And I'll tell you why in a minute. And the answer is, well, unless you have a bizarre disease, then no, I don't think you need to. No. It's not going to profit you in any way. It's not going to be beneficial. You don't need a doctor's okay to eat healthy food. And I don't want to dive in and give or try to make up hypothetical examples, but if you're someone that has thyroid disease, I've had many clients that had thyroid disease, specifically Hashimoto's, and one of them was a nurse. You don't need a doctor to give a thumbs up on that. That's not a unique disease. That can be easily handled. Or diabetes. Those are not unique, bizarre diseases. So you would not fall in that 1% of people that might need to. But if there's some weird food allergy or some weird chemical in some food or something or other, and there's like a life or death situation, or there's a really pernicious side effect of a certain weird chemical or something, then by all means do it. We don't want anybody, health, risking their life or anything crazy. But this is why I say don't do it. And these are some of the reasons why. But let me finish up. Here's why. Oh, and to make one more point, if you're like 95% of people and you're a generally healthy person, then no, you don't need to. But let me kind of switch directions, but still drive the point home. Why do people show their diet plan to their doctor? And you're like, well, how do you know they do, Jeff? And I'll tell you how I know. I know because I've had several clients tell me, and they've posted in their client journals on my message board. They've posted, hey, I showed my program to my doctor and he loved it, or he said it was okay, and it's always been positive results, or it's always been positive feedback rather. But I remember thinking, well, would you go to your doctor for a customized nutrition program? And of course they wouldn't. Then why would you show them? And this brings us full circle to the answer. Let me be very clear on this. Let me be very clear so we understand ourselves. I'm not even going to say that out loud because you can read it right there. If you're looking for validation after you've already signed up, or after you've already signed up, is the wrong time to look for validation. And do you see where I'm going with this? And this is why it could be problematic. Let me play the devil's advocate. And I've always had good feedback because every doctor in the world wants their patients to eat tons of fruits, vegetables, lean meats and healthy fats. But what if a doctor said it was too high in carbs, or too high in protein, or too high in fat? What if they said that? What if it was some, maybe, who knows? What if it was just some doctor that said, what if it's too high in protein? What do you think would happen? What would that woman immediately think? Would she have rock solid faith, trust, and confidence in her program? Or would she lose faith, trust, and confidence in her program? What do you think? I know exactly what would happen. You would immediately lose all faith, trust, and confidence. So it's not because it's some top secret thing. It's because of the emotional and mental devastation it would have on a person. You're dealing with people that can hardly even, it's tough enough to just pack their meals. They can't, it's even a word of criticism can take the wind out of somebody's sails. And people view doctors and even personal trainers, unfortunately, and I'm not cutting down other personal trainers because I used to be one, but as major health authority figures. And this is a good example. This girl right here, she lost, as you can see, close to 20 pounds of body fat while she was going through chemotherapy and had cancer. This is someone that had cancer and, followed her program, followed the program that she signed up for, had faith, trust, and confidence in it, and even during chemotherapy, it was absolutely vital that she ate the right foods and put the right nutrients in her body. And, she looks very good, very fit. So do you see the bigger picture now? And the first thing someone's going to say is, well, will this really work for me? Well, none of this info will work for you if you don't follow the right program. None of what I said today, it doesn't matter if you show it to your doctor or your trainer or your friend or not, if it's not the right map. It won't matter. So follow the right map, sign up for the Oscillating Macronutrient Eating Pattern, or as I call it, the OMEP. It's my top-selling #1 fat loss program, wetwolftraining.com. And I'm going to explain why it's extra important right here, if I can get to the next slide. And I've always said it. The first thing you got to do is take ownership and accountability that you need help. If you can't do that, and you probably have, or you wouldn't be watching the webinar. But once you take ownership and accountability that you're lost and need help, the very next step, what does it say? To obtain the right map, your customized program. Not a program in a magazine, not a program I read in a book, not a program somebody, drew out real quick for me. Obtain the right map, your customized program that has tons of social proof, tons of real-world working evidence, and tons of information to back it up. Make the jump. Sign up now. wetwolftraining.com. Signing out.